Today we are going to start our topic of adulthood. As we were discussing in the lifespan development, the childhood, the early childhood, then adolescence, and now we are moving towards the adulthood. In adulthood we are going to cover the early adulthood and the middle adulthood as well. When we are discussing the adulthood, there are certain different milestones which the person is going to achieve, about which he was very much apprehensive in the age of adolescence. For example, in adolescence that was the period in which the adolescent was very much into testing their own limits, and they wanted to have some sort of identity regarding their academic and professional goals, as well as they wanted to choose some sort of profession for them in the future, and they were also involved in some in dating and intimate relationships, so they wanted to have some sort of close bonding with another person as well as to settle down in their life. So this is a time where practically they are actually able to do that. They are going to find the love of their life, as well as they are going to settle in the job where they want that they are going to be the best fit for that job. So when we are discussing the early and late adulthood, the age range of these two different stages of adulthood is different. For example, when we are talking about the early adulthood, that is the age is 20 to 39, that goes from 20 to 39 to 40 years of age, and the middle adulthood is going to be around 40 to 65 years of age. And the major milestones which are going to be achieved in these ages in his adulthood is that the decline in the physical skills is going to be seen over here, the increasing responsibility on the person, as we have discussed in the phase of adolescence, that the child was not that much responsible, and the parents and the society was giving him the leverage that he was not held responsible for a lot of the things. But now the things have been changed, and people are expecting his role to be defined, and he is going to be asked to follow that as well. This is the time when the person is actually aware of his own limitations and his own boundaries and his own capabilities, as well as he is now motivated about doing something and generating something, or being industrious in his own ways and generating something meaningful in his environment, and doing and transferring that meaningful thing into another generation, as well as he is going to meet the expected level in his career, and he is going to meet the satisfaction professionally, academically, and in his personal life in this stage. When we discuss the physical development specifically in the early adulthood, then the health is the main concern over here, as emerging adults have twice the mortality rate of adolescents, which means that males are mainly responsible for higher mortality rates for emerging adults, as the emerging adults engage in more health compromising behaviors and have more chronic disorders. They are more likely to be obese and are more likely to have mental disorders than the adolescents. It was seen and it was discussed before, and there are a lot of researchers which used to support that adolescent is a highly risk taking factor and the risk taking age for the person in the whole span of development. But now the further new researchers have figured it out that in early adolescent, people used to take these things for granted. They used to take healthy behaviors is taken for granted, because they think that they are totally well and they are totally fine, they are totally energetic, so that means that they can overlook some of the healthy behavior. So that is the age where they are going to pose a lot of risk to their own health and well-being, because they are going to ignore their physical health and they are not going to pay that much attention. And positive health behavior equal positive life satisfaction. We can say that as much the person is concerned about his own healthy habits, and then as much it is going to play its role towards his satisfaction with his own life. Then we discussed that low socioeconomic backgrounds are also engaged in lower level of physical activities, and they used to consume more fast food, and they have less number of fruits and vegetables available, and that is used at unhealthy weight control methods. For example, they are going to have faulty dieting protocols with them and they are going to follow those, that is going to be more disastrous for that age as compared to the higher socioeconomic status. So inactivity, poor diet, obesity, substance abuse, inadequate reproductive health care are all those things which are being neglected in this age of the early adulthood. As we have discussed, that eating and weight is linked with the obesity, and there are certain different factors which are involved over here when we discuss the obesity. In obesity, the obesity is usually considered the most disastrous and the most serious and pervasive problem for many adults, because this is a time when if the person is going to gain weight, then it is going to cause them some sort of physical disease. They have to go through certain physical diseases and serious conditions. The factors which are involved in obesity, the first of all we can discuss the heredity. First of all, the person could have the genetic makeup or genetic inclination or inheritance where he has inherited or he has the traits of and the tendency to be overweight, so that could be one factor. Then when we discuss the environment, in the environmental factors we can discuss, there are a number of things which can be discussed over here. For example, the socioeconomic status of the person, the availability of the food. For example, the junk food is going to be the most suitable option for this age, because they don't want to consume that much of their time in arranging some sort of healthy food, and they are not even interested in the idea that anything beneficial, anything healthy needs to be consumed, because they feel so well within their body, because this is a peak time of physical development and they are feeling too much, they are having all the energies they need, so they don't consider it as a requirement in that age. Another thing is the dieting, that can be the part of obesity and can be important factor, because sometimes that most of the time the calorie restricting diets used to have the effect that the person who is applying that sort of diet, they are going to reduce for some time, but then after that if they are going to resume their own eating habits, then they are going to gain more weight than they have lost in the whole process of dieting. Then binge eating disorder is another disorder and category which is in the physical, when we discuss the early adulthood, that it is that they are going to have the episodes of the frequent binge eating without compensatory behavior, as we discussed in the bulimia and anorexia in the last stages. But in this, the binge eating is not being met with the compensatory behavior. For example, they are not going to be involved in purging behavior. So the binge eating disorder is going to be engaged in recurrent episodes of eating large quantities of food, during which they feel a lack of control over their own eating habits as well. So this can have disastrous effects. Next, when we discuss that regular exercise and its effect on the person's well-being and the physical development, so aerobic exercises are those exercises which are going to help them to avoid and prevent the chronic disorders, and regular exercise is going to help them to have a healthy heart and healthy body organs. And aerobic exercises are any sort of exercises. They could be jogging, swimming, cycling, anything which is going to stimulate the heart and lung activity of the person. These exercises usually benefit both the mental and the physical health, because the person who is engaged in exercise, they are having less screen time, they are monitoring their own progress, they are having they are keeping themselves in touch with the nature, or maybe that is going to that is going to fill their routine with that exercise. So they are going to have less time to be depressed about certain things, to be anxious about certain things, because physiological changes which are being caused by this exercise and this physical activities are going to have a positive impact on the person's psychological and mental health as well. Then let's talk about some other serious concerns, that is the substance abuse. In substance abuse we can discuss the alcohol and binge drinking. Now when we are discussing alcohol, in that the binge drinking is which is usually experienced in college as well, in the high school as well, because this is the time where other peers and the other people around them in their company can introduce the binge drinking behavior as well, and that could leads towards that it is going to be more common for them as well. Then alcoholism is another condition, is another thing that can be considered as a disorder that involves a long-term, repeated, uncontrolled, compulsive, excessive use of alcoholic beverages, any sort of drink which is consisted of alcohol, and they are dependent on that. Then the person is called is having the alcoholism, which impairs the drinker's health and social relationship, because they are being affected. If the person is dependent on these things, and they are surely being affected by that. Other thing which is harming their health is cigarette smoking and nicotine use, and the smoking is linked to the cancer and the death and cardiovascular diseases and sort of other chronic diseases as well. So adult smoker would like to quit, but but before that they are already addicted, so quitting an addiction is going to be a big challenge for in that age. When we discuss the physical development in the middle adulthood, specifically, as we were discussing the early adulthood physical development before, so in middle adulthood, and you can understand that that the middle adulthood has the age span of around 40 plus to 60, around 60. So in this age they are going to gain and lose a lot of biological and socio-cultural factors and balance each other. The late midlife is midlife, which is going to span across around 55 to 65 years of age, and in that age they are going to have certain different changes in their life. They are going to have they are going to see the death of a parent maybe, and the last child may be leaving the parental home. So this is the age where they are going to be involved in a lot of other activities which are which involve them in certain different ways, and they might be becoming grandparent, and they are getting ready for the actual retirement phase. So this is going to have the physical as well as cognitive effect and the psychological effect on the person. When we discuss the physical changes, as you can anticipate and expect, that in this age the decline in the physical capabilities and the physical skills are going to occur, and the visible signs could be that wrinkles are going to be seen on the skin, and the vision and visible and the vision of the person could be affected. The appearance of aging spots, and the hair becoming thinner and grayer, and the nails become thinner and brittle, and yellowing of the teeth. So these are the physical and visible signs which can be seen. The height and weight, individuals lose height and they also gain weight. They become being overweight is a critical health problem in the middle adulthood as well. When we talk about the strength, joints and bones, and specifically in this age, then it is very much important to discuss it over here, because there is a condition called sarcopenia, and in that sarcopenia the thing which is going to happen in that age is that they are going to have the age related loss of muscle mass and strength, and the maximum physical strength is often attained during the 20s. So this is the age where they are going to lose that, and muscle loss with age occurs at the rate of approximately 1 to 2% per year after the age of 50. So a loss of strength especially occurs in the back of the legs. So obesity is a risk factor for sarcopenia, as well as sarcopenia is linked with the hypertension as well. Then when we discuss the vision and the hearing capabilities of the person, they are also going to be deteriorated, and they are also going to not going to function not at their optimal levels. The accommodation of the eye is, when we discuss the accommodation of eye, that is the ability to focus and maintain an image on the retina. So in this age it is also going to decline. The ability to focus and maintain an image on the retina is going to decline between 40 to 59 years of age, and at the age of 60 the retina receives only 1/3 of as much light as it did and in the 20 years of age. So that is going to cause a lot of vision problems and the difficulty in seeing clearly the close objects which are placed closely. There is going to be the reduced blood supplies, and the men usually lose their sensitivity as well of the high pitched voices and sounds, and sooner than the women do lose their sense of hearing. Maybe that could be one reason. The gender difference among in this could be linked to the reason that men are more exposed to those occupations in those situations which require which are using a lot of their auditory resources. For example, they could be at the workplace where there is mining or there is a lot of noise, so they are being impacted much earlier than the women. Then when we are discussing the cardiovascular system, there are certain diseases which are linked with the cardiovascular systems, and the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cardiovascular diseases all can occur and could be common in this age as well. Metabolic syndrome is the hypertension, obesity and insulin resistance is being termed as metabolic syndrome. Then it is the most prevalent and increasing problem in the middle and late adulthood, and this is a condition which is characterized by hypertension, obesity and insulin resistance. Researchers have found that chronic stress exposure is also linked with the metabolic syndrome. Exercise, weight control, fruit, vegetables, all these can help to prevent these certain conditions. Then when we talk about the capacity of lungs, and then lung tissues become less elastic at about age 55 when they decreasing the lungs capacity. So this change is combined with the gradual stiffening of the chest wall and decreases the muscle capacity to shuttle oxygen from the air people breathe to the blood in their veins. So it is going to be reduced as well. Then when we talk about the sleep pattern or the sleep cycle of the person, then sleep disorders, for example breathing and restless leg syndromes, are becoming more prevalent in the middle age, and the wakeful periods are becoming more, which is also going to cause them a lot of disturbance in their daily functioning in everyday life. When we discuss the mortality rates, then the chronic diseases are the main cause of death during middle adulthood. For example, the heart disease and the cancer are the main causes of that. So as we were discussing that in the middle, or we can also discuss that chronic diseases have the slow onset and they are having the longest duration, and chronic disorders are rare in the early adulthood but increase in the middle adulthood, and they become more common in the late adulthood. And arthritis is the most leading chronic disorder in the middle age as well. Now we are going to discuss the sexuality in the early and middle adulthood. And when we are discussing the area of sexuality, that is going to be that there are significant changes which the person is going to experience in this age, because the identity which he has been formed in the adolescence, now they are going to move on with that identity and their interest in other person as in the form of a partner. So the sexual activity in the emerging adulthood is going to be the patterns of heterosexual behaviors are going to come forward as well, and the males have more casual sex partners while females report being more selective, and the casual sex is more common in the emerging adulthood than in the young adulthood as well. The sexual regarding the sexual orientation and behavior, there are certain different changes which are going to be seen over here in that age. The sources of sexual orientation is going to exist as a continuum, and that is not going to be considered as just one category. So people used to understand now that the sexual orientation is based on the continuum from exclusive male-female relation to exclusive same-sex relation. So it just lie on that continuum. For example, sexual orientation is generally seen not as either the proposition but as a continuum. For example, we can say that person could lie at any rating on that continuum. He is not going to be a heterosexual or a homosexual, but they lie somewhere in between or at the continuum of that. So most likely a combination of genetic, hormonal and cognitive and environmental factors are going to play their role. Women are considered to be more likely than men to have a sexual experience with the same and opposite sex partner, even if they identify themselves strongly as being a heterosexual or lesbian. So they just try or experiment that sort of relationship and that sort of orientation as well. When we are discussing sexual orientation and behavior, in that we can say that attitudes and behavior of the lesbians and gays are going to be affected, and these attitudes and behavior are going to be of the special concerns because heterosexual women or lesbians have fewer sexual partners than the gay men. So that is about that they are those who are gay or lesbian, they know that they belong to the minority, so they react to the cheating behavior, or they are not that much permissive in allowing their partner to be involved with someone else, because they know that they are the minority and they are unable to withstand with the fact that if their partner is going to have has a permissive attitudes about that. So many gender differences that appear in heterosexual relationships occur in the same sex relation, and the lesbians have fewer sexual partners and less permissive attitudes about the casual sex and gay men, and they used to hate crime and stigma related experiences are the special concerns. That's why they don't want to disclose it as well. When we are discussing the foreseeable sexual behavior and sexual harassment, the most important and the most prevalent and the most stigmatized is the rape cases and foreseeable in sexual intercourse with the person who does not have any consent. So that is called rape, and it is there when the researchers have figured out the intention and the characteristics of the rapist, then they have figured out that the aggression used to enhance that sense of power of masculinity, and the their anger at the woman in general is going to cause them to do that, and they want to hurt and humiliate their victim, and they want to show that they are sexually aggressive, and they have that urge. That's why that is going to be satisfied by that. They consider women to be inferior. They want to view their own player as the most important than the other person's suffering, and they want to hurt and humiliate the victims they are going to have in that category. Then there is another condition, that is the date or acquaintance rape. That is that when the person is going to call someone on the date, or they just know them from somewhere and they have the slightest idea about that person, so that is going to come under that category, that they already know that who that person is, but they are going to have that form. And the sexual harassment could be the manifestation of power of one person over another, and it could be of many forms. That could be name calling, that could be inappropriate touching, or that could come under these different categories. When we discuss middle adulthood and the phase of sexuality, then there are two significant things in the middle adulthood. That is climacteric, and that is the most important phase in the midlife transition, in which the fertility declines. So this is the stage for which the term climacteric is being used, and the menopause is the main stage for women, in which the cessation of women's menstrual period is going to occur. that usually occurs between 40 to early 50s, and the premenopause is the transitional period from normal menstrual period to no menstrual period at all, and this is a phase where women used to experience different hormonal changes and different mood swings and different hot and cold flushes. So all of these things used to occur in this phase of menopause. Now let's move towards the cognitive development, and when we are discussing cognitive development, as we have discussed before, the theories of Piaget in every stage of cognitive development, so now we are going to discuss that in here as well. As you already know that in adolescence the Piaget stage of formal operational has been concluded, and after that there is no more stages which are left. So it is being understood that adolescents used to reach at the peak of their cognitive development. So but we can say that adolescents are different in the qualitative way. For example, adolescent might have reached the formal operational stage and they can use the more logic and abstract and idealistic thinking, but what they have not achieved is the quality of those skills. So in adulthood they are going to gain that skill, because that is going to refine the quality of those skills. For example, if they've used to think more logically in adolescent, now their logic has more improved by experience and by the time they have spent over that thing. So individual consolidate their formal operational thinking during adulthood as well, and they are going to improve in that. When researchers have discussed, then they have put together and formed a post-formal stage, and they think that in the post-formal stage is going to be more reflective, more relativistic and more contextual. By that they mean that the young adults emerge in the problem solving and solving the problems. They might think deeply about many aspects of the work and politics and relationship and other areas of life, which helps them to understand it more clearly. And some psychologists argue that reflective thinking continues to increase and become more internal and less contextual in middle age. So this is what that it is. And when we talk about the provisional areas of that, then many young adults also become more skeptical about the truth and seem unwilling to accept an answer as final. Thus they come to see the search of the truth as an ongoing. So they think like scientists, and provisional is that they allow some changes and adjustments in that. And when we discuss the realistic, that young adults understand that thinking can't always be abstract, and in many instances can be realistic and pragmatic. And finally they recognize as being influenced by emotions, and they understand that the thinking is going to be influenced and it could be controlled by the emotions and feelings they are going to have. When we talk about the creativity, in this stage they are going to have the creativity, they are going to be most creative person, because in this age the creativity is going to bloom. And there are certain researchers like Mozart and all those other creative people who have given their best creations or best pieces of art. So the most creative products were generated in their 30s, and 80% of the most important creative contributions were completed by the age of 50. So creativity reaches its peak in this adulthood, either in the middle adulthood or in the early. So the creative peaks in adulthood, and then it declines, but the peak often occurs in the 40s. But that decline is not going to be that much great or in the magnitude, as we can say. The decline in creativity with age requires attention to the field creativity is involved. For example, the philosophy and history, the older adults are often show as much creative as they used to be in their 30s or 40s, but according to differences in the fields and the domains, we can see that for example, the fields such as poetry or abstract math and theoretical physics, so these are the areas in which the peak of creativity is often reached in 20s and 30s, and it may decline afterwards. So it depends on the domain, different domains as well. When we talk about the individual variations, individual differences in the creativity, then lifetime outputs of the creative individual is going to put that change. Typically the most productive creators in any field are far more prolific and their latest productive counterparts. So that is about the personality traits which are linked to the creativity as well, which are going to play their role in that. When we talk about cognitive development in middle adulthood, that is the intelligence. As you might know that there are two different types of intelligence, the crystallized intelligence and the fluid intelligence. In the crystallized intelligence, all the information which is stored over there is going to be used. For example, the facts, the general knowledge and all those things are stored over there. That information you already know. For example, the things you are learning in this course, they are all stored in the crystallized intelligence. So they in the middle adulthood, it is continue to increase in the middle adulthood, but the other part, the fluid intelligence, which is the free flowing intelligence, which is more abstract, which is more creative, the ability to reason abstractly, they may begin to decline in the middle adulthood. Now let's come towards the careers and work. So when we discuss the careers and work in the early adulthood, then we can see that from mid-20s on, individuals often seek to establish their emerging career in the particular field, and some of them and most of them are going to get settled in their particular field, and they are going to focus more on their career goals, and they are going to be engaged in the hard work for long hours to adulthood. That will lead to the more status, security and happiness in them. So students focus sometimes mostly on the short-term goals rather than the long-term goals, which is a barrier, because sometimes they are not given the path, sometimes they are not being guided about that certain thing, that where they have to go, where they have to move, and what is going to be beneficial for them. So this is the necessity of time, that their parents, teachers or someone who is available in the environment, they just guide them, or they just give them the picture that how they can choose the majors, or how they can choose a career goal in their life which is going to help them according to their own condition. So when we talk about the monitoring and occupational outlook, so the person needs to be knowledgeable about different fields. Only that way he is going to able to explore the other areas, and the impact of work could be that it could be more stressful for them as well. Most spend 1/3 of their lives at work, so if their work is stressful, that is going to have a direct effect on their psychological and personal well-being of the person. So sometime people used to work during their studies as well, which could be another factor which can be very much stressful in that situation when they need to balance between both of these. Then another condition of unemployment, if the person is in the middle adulthood or in the early adulthood and his studies have completed, so he could feel very much under the pressure of unemployment if he is not getting any suitable job. So that is going to produce a huge level of stress on his physical problem, and he could experience physical problems and marital problems as well. When we talk about the dual earner couple, then there is another problem, that now the finances are not going to be that much of the problem, as both of them are earning, but the balance between the work and family life is going to be the problem, which can increase the resistance and which can increase the problems in the person's life. So diversity in workplace is also being experienced in these days, and more women are being entered in those areas and in those professions where it was not acceptable, or women have never survived in those areas or in those careers. So when we talk about in the middle adulthood, the same career and work, so the work in the midlife, the most probably people have taken the best employment for them, and they are excelling or they are satisfied most probably in that phase of life. And as it is a time of evaluation, assessment and reflection about their work, that if they have done that, so was it beneficial for them, or they are happy about their own contribution in their own life and their job. and this is the time where they are going to have the free time as well. The layer activities on their life is going to pay them back whatever they have, whatever hard work they have done in their own life. Then they are going to have the fruit of that hard work, so they are going to have some pleasant time after work. They are free to pursue their hobbies, and they have the opportunities for their layer activities as well. Then when we discuss the religious and spirituality and the meaning in life in the middle adulthood, this is going to be gained. In the religion, we can say that it is a set of beliefs or practices or rituals people used to follow, and religiousness is the degree to which an individual is going to follow all those rituals and is going to participate in those things. For example, as a Muslim, we can say that participation in the daily prayers and going to the mosque to say all the prayers and having all fasting and all those things are going to be giving charity. So this is what religiousness is, and they are going to, in this age we are going to discuss how much they are going to participate, as much they are going to feel more sense of connection with its own beliefs, and they feel involved with their own community. And spirituality is that they are experiencing something beyond oneself in a transcendent manner. For example, spirituality is apart from religion, and religiousness says spirituality is that they are going to experience something beyond their own existence, and they are going to understand the purpose and the meaning of life, and they are living in the way that others are going to be benefited. According to Roy, we have he given that there are 4 main needs which are being met by the religious and spirituality and to figure out the meaning of life. The need for purpose is going to be fulfilled. The need for values which are going to be fulfilled for that middle adulthood. And you can also see from the practical experiences that people used to follow and pursue more religious practices in around their 30s and 40s, because they have now attained everything in their life and most of the things in their life, and now their mind is understanding and is free to understand other areas of life, meaning of life. So they are going to have the need for values, and they are trying to understand those values, and they want them to be transferred to another generation, and that is also giving them the new purpose of their existence, that why they exist, and the need of sense of self, sense of efficacy, that they can control the things, they can control the environment around them. This is the sense which they are going to have in this age, and the need of self-worth which is going to be satisfied by following these practices, because it is going to fulfill the purpose that they are doing something really significant, something very much important. That was all, and I think it has helped you. And if you have any questions, then you can feel free to ask me at any time. Thank you.